It was a funny quote, "You'll never see a Danish flag on the moon, but man, those people are happy. They love their vacation or whatever."
I don't know any robotics students that haven't found a job in robotics. So basically, we are the lucky ones.
The big difference was the exams. In the US, or at least my undergrad, it was a lot of, like, your overall grade for a course was based on homework assignments, midterms, finals, projects, whatever else the course had. Here, that is very different. Your entire grade is based on one 15-minute exam at the end of the course.
Something cool, exams are all easy to pass. If you work, you make it, and you feel that you get the reward you deserve.
I won't say that like they don't work hard, but it's working between certain hours.
I would say that this is the place to come for entrepreneurship, and mostly in robotics.
Danish people don't talk a lot until they've had something to drink.
When people think about moving to Denmark, Copenhagen is usually the first and only name on the list. But if you're looking for the heart of the Danish robotics scene, you need to look west, towards Odense. This is SDU. As of 2026, it's officially ranked as the #1 university in Denmark. And this video is for two types of people. First, for the future engineers. If you're dreaming of a career in robotics, we're diving deep into one of Europe's most famous tech hubs to see if the hype is actually real. But it's also for international students considering Denmark as their next home. We're going beyond the code to look at how university life actually works here, from the benefits to the daily challenges. Now, a quick heads up. Because of strict patent laws and intellectual property, I can't show you the actual robots, the coding, or the projects being developed. However, I can show you the life behind the tech. We will hear from David, an EU student, and Niko coming all the way from the US. Two different paths, but one shared destination. This is what it's really like to study and live in the robotics capital of Denmark.
Why did you choose here, Odense?
The area I'm from in the US has a lot of robotics schools, and I'm from Boston.
Okay.
So Boston has a lot of good options for tech and stuff like that. But actually, 4 years ago now, I got hired at a company called Universal Robots, which they're actually based in Odense. So for me, it was a matter of it just made a lot of sense. The school I went to in the US had a lot of the professors went to SDU and either taught here or got their doctorates here. And then they mentioned this program, and then also through work, I just got transferred from the Boston office to this office. And then also just it being cheaper and stuff just made a lot of sense. So.
You came from?
I was born in Colombia.
Okay.
Then I moved to Spain. So basically I have been raised in both countries, half and half.
Okay.
So after, I think, 10 years in Spain, maybe a little bit more, I moved back to Denmark.
Just because I had another interview with another guy that he is non-European. So how was for you the path for obtaining the citizenship? It was smooth or linear, or you have some kind of issues?
When you have an European passport, everything smoothens so much. So basically, when you come to Denmark, you don't have to apply for any special visa or any permit to live here that is complicated to get. You just fulfill your application as a student, and the university manage everything for you. And you have almost the same rights as a Danish citizenship. So that's something we should be grateful to Europe, because they provide us the way to come here, study for free, I would say, and also get the chance to get the benefits that Danish people also get. For example, SU, we just have to add something that we need to work a little bit during the week in any job. And then as we pay taxes and we contribute to the country, let's say, we get the same benefits. So also we get paid for studying here. And I think that there's no complications at all for any European to come here and do it the same way as we did. And you will find yourself more than welcome here.
You mentioned that about your visa. How smooth and linear was the journey or the path for obtaining everything?
Because I got accepted to SDU and I had worked for a Danish company already. It was relatively easy for me. The hardest part for me was coming from the US. I had to drive from Boston to New York to go to the embassy.
Okay.
Which that wasn't a big deal. They just took my passport, took my picture, and I think I paid like $200, and it was done.
Okay.
And then I just got the visa.
So that was the main issue.
Yeah, no. And actually, because with my passport, I could be in Europe for 3 months without the visa.
Yep.
So I actually didn't have the visa until I got here, and then I was here for, I don't know, a month, and then I had it. And the only thing that I had that was like a little bit funky was SDU didn't accept me until I had my diploma from my undergrad.
Okay.
So like I literally walked across the stage and I got my diploma, and then I literally just took a picture of it, sent it to them, and the next day they were like, you're in. So
Okay.
it was a little bit unfortunate because, and I think it was just because I was not an EU citizen, that I had like a month and a half to figure out housing and how I'm gonna get here and stuff like that. So like that was all condensed because of that. So, but if you're an EU citizen looking to get here for school, I don't think it's the same issue.
So let's talk about this kind of environment. How do you know about here, Odense? Basically, because I know that it's a great hub for robotics.
I got to hear about Odense mainly because of the company Universal Robots.
Okay.
I did my bachelor thesis in Odense in Havde University in Sweden with a UR.
Okay.
Then I went back to Spain, and at my job we had 2 or 3 cohorts there, and they were from the same brand. So you kind of at the end get to know the company. Then you find out that the company is from here, and then you start hearing about Odense and his huge robotics hub. Then I was in the field, so the different people from my company also knew about Odense, and they were also encouraged me to also come here and explore the possibilities of the city too. So basically, I think it's something worldwide new that Odense is a city of robotics, at least for the robotics people. So it's not something difficult to find out. And then as you find out the city is robotics city, you kind of go deep into the topic, and then you realize that also it's because the university is here and it's focused all around robotics and robotics research.
I don't know if you can rank, let's say, Odense all around the world as a hub for came in here and start studying for robotics.
Yeah, it's definitely one. I didn't look too much in the other ones just because this was the only one I applied to.
Yeah, sure.
Because of it being so close to UR and that option. But from what I've heard, Germany, Denmark, and a couple other places, Sweden and Switzerland maybe have some good engineering options.
Okay.
But Odense, from what I could see, had the best options with SDU and then DTU and then University of Copenhagen and stuff like that. All being great options for tech. So there's a lot is condensed in a close area. So as far as I can tell, Odense is definitely one of the top ones for robotics. And you can see that with all the internationals that we have at this school. I think my program is 50% international, and that's from all over, like Spain, Germany, Italy. So there's a lot of people coming from different places. So I think that proves that it's up there.
What about you came here probably with some kind of expectations.
Yeah.
All the expectations are I don't know, maybe well met, or there are some critics.
I would say that all the experience are well met in terms of what I was expecting here about the master's degree and about the job offers.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm here looking for more experience related to research in robotics, and I think the master is totally focused around researching in robotics. Then I was hoping here to find a side job. I hoped that related to engineering and related to robotics, and it was really easy to find different opportunities robotics related. While in Spain, it took me 2 years to find something related to robotics. I mean, specifically to robotics. I was also thinking about autonomous systems. That's why I chose my master's. And then I found out that there is a huge drones research center here that offers you plenty of different opportunities along the years for students to work as research assistants, student programmers. So I would say that all my desires were met here. There's one thing I have to highlight, and it's like it's not that easy for international students to get all the benefits from the university because of the barrier language and also the gap between bachelor's and master's. It means like all the Danish students start robotics in the bachelor's, so they get to know all the benefits from different associations, clubs, competitions, possibilities in terms of labs, in terms of facilities, the labs, and so on. But as they go to the masters, everything is granted. I mean, they assume that all the students know about all these benefits, facilities, clubs, workshops, and so on. But the international students that only can come for the masters because it's only in English and the bachelor's is in Danish, we don't know about all these side benefits we could have. So there's a lack in terms of introduction from international students to the uni.
Okay, and how could you mind this gap?
You have to be curious, you have to move yourself, and then we were lucky because one of our friends started working in the maker space from uni, so he knew that there was all these different things, and also because of different projects you start like wandering around. I need to build this, I need to solder this, I need to print this, and then you start finding out that there's like so many different possibilities for you to develop all your projects, and then you realize that the uni has more to offer than not only the masters.
Okay.
Also, they have a huge environment for entrepreneurship. You can launch a startup here, and you will be more than welcome to be incubated here, and also to have all the supports in terms of like expertise and even like financial help from the university.
When you start coming here, do you have any kind of expectations?
For me, I came here with an open mind. I moved a lot as a kid. My dad was military, so I was kind of used to the idea of going in, not knowing much about the location. So I was expecting to learn a lot in terms of robotics and have a great experience with work and university balance, just because of that's like the European mindset. Students, it makes student life is well balanced, I think, was the expectation for me, and that's been met. The city I'm from, Boston, or the area I'm from, Boston area, is very similar to Odense and Copenhagen. Okay. I've actually had I've met a few other people who were visiting from the U.S. Who said something very similar, that had been to Boston. They were like, it reminded them a lot of Copenhagen and Odense, just kind of like student town vibes, which that's definitely something that I didn't expect. I didn't expect the student, at least the amount of students, the amount of international students as well, to be this high. But that was a surprise to me and something I enjoyed.
Now, entrepreneurship is not in my scope, but I would say that this is the place to come for entrepreneurship, and mostly in robotics.
This is the right context for some kind of, I don't know, maybe a venture capitalist or investors.
Yeah. I think, for example, in south of Spain, in Malaga, we now have a lot of different investors that are going there because of the .com companies and also software companies. And that's something, a fast investment, because developing software is not as typical as developing hardware. But I see a lot of people that doesn't mind the big curve of investment in a hardware company or robotics company. They are coming here. I see that there's a lot of robotics entrepreneurs here. So if you have an idea, if you're willing to enroll in your university, use all the benefits from the university to build your company. Also, along the path in the masters, you will find out that developing your company can be totally aligned with the projects of uni, using the different courses to develop your product, using the uni support, the expertise of the teachers, and making your thesis your company, and then your company elevated to the incubator, and then using all the startup programs. So I think the master itself will be a great opportunity to make product development. I know that every year in Odense, at least there's 60 new robotics engineers that graduate from the masters and the bachelors. So it means that there is a lot of competitions. Danish people has the advantage that they speak the language. So I will say maybe to find a job afterwards is more difficult than to find a job as a student worker. Because student workers are always needed, but full-time jobs are there's less than student positions. But I would say give a try. Also depends on the company you're working. If you start working from the first year, when you finish the master, you have been there for 2 years. They have invested a lot of time training you, giving you knowledge, so you're a worth asset for them. So there's high chances for you to be hired inside that company. And if not, you have 2 years of experience in a real robotics company that will give you a huge value in the market. Sometimes in Spain, research is a way to not go into unemployment. I mean, you finish your studies, you try to find a job in your field, there's no work in your field, so you keep inside of university, you do your masters, there's nothing outside, I go for my PhD, and then you just remain in the loop.
Exactly.
But here, even I don't want to remain inside of uni researching, I will find a jobs in robotics.
Not just all this area is well known for the university related to robotics, but also for the companies. Do you have any kind of, I don't know, maybe relationship with one of those companies during your years here in university, or?
Yep.
And what's your experience?
And like I said, one of the reasons I came here is because I was working for a Danish company. And so UR is the company I've worked for 4 years now, a year and 7 months, something like that, in Denmark. And I've, as a student worker, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I know if you are a European citizen, it's a lot easier to be a student worker because Denmark actually gives you, it's called SDU.
Yes.
And they actually provide money to students who, if you're Danish, you get that money automatically. You don't even have to work. If you're an EU citizen, you have to work like 10 hours a week, and then you get that money as well on top of your pay. I'm not EU, so I don't get it. But
and there is no option for obtaining something from the government?
No, not for if you're not EU.
Okay.
Not as a student.
Not just working.
If they give me a visa and I can work 20 hours a week.
Okay.
Or it's like 21, something like that. But if you work here long enough, you can eventually get it.
Okay.
But I've only been here 2 years, so I won't.
No. Yeah, sure.
But no, there's no for non-EU citizens. There's no student help, I guess. It's definitely easy. Like I have very cheap housing because I'm a student. I have the visa. I have the ability to go to school here. I have the ability to work here. So it's definitely manageable. But it's not the same as an EU citizen.
Yeah, sure.
Like you get a lot of help there. So like I work 20 hours a week. And actually, but UR has made that very easy to do, and they're very accommodating in terms of, if I have a week where I have exams or something like that, they're very not like, you need to be in here on these days at this time.
Okay, yeah.
They're not strict on that sense. So if there's a week where I say, hey, I need to take a break from my hours or something like that and focus more on school, they're like, yep, whatever.
And which field do you find the job?
Which field?
Yeah.
It's a robotics company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you can also looking for any type of jobs, whatever.
Yeah,
it could be a part-time or whatever.
Yeah, I haven't, like I said, I came here with a job, so I didn't have to go through the job search process.
Okay, yeah.
But I've heard that there's a lot of instances where students have or find it easier to find jobs. There's a lot of options in restaurants and bars and stuff like that always need
and it's feasible.
It's feasible.
Okay.
I will say it's definitely harder for Erasmus students if they're coming here looking for a job. Because some companies, most companies aren't looking for someone who's only going to be there for 3 months.
You mentioned before that it's possible, especially for a EU citizen, just to work here in Denmark, also with studying here. How about the process? I mean, it's just like having some kind of economic support from the government, right? Because you are working, but you have some kind of limitation about the hour that you have to spend on working.
I think the most important thing to highlight is like most of international students that come here are not from robotics, and those people struggle to find jobs in the fields they like.
Okay.
But I don't know any robotics students that haven't found a job in robotics. So basically, we are the lucky ones. They give you a lot of flexibility inside the university jobs and inside the company jobs to work your 10 hours during the week.
Okay.
And then with
the minimum is 10 hours.
Around 10 hours.
Okay.
And then you will be granted with SDU, which is also another source of income from the state because you're studying. So that's super cool. And it's based on a monthly average. What it means that if this week I'm super busy because I have 4 projects and I cannot work, if my employer allows me, I can do 20 in 1 week and 0 in the next week. And I will say that most of our employers, they allow you to do that. Because in most of student workers, you're not there as an intern to learn, but as student workers to perform a specific task. You're working.
Okay. Yeah.
So as soon as you have your tasks given to you and you can distribute it in your time, they're cool with you, like changing your skill as much as you need.
But about the method, I don't know if you have any kind of friends or whatever in Boston and you can compare the kind of learning method or whatever.
Yeah, the learning the teaching style is similar in terms of when I was like the program, I was looking at a program for my master's in the US and a program here where it came down to in the end the material that they advertised, very similar. Obviously, I didn't go to the other option, but when comparing it to my undergrad, the teaching is a very different style than what I was used to. Here, at least for the master's, it was we would take like 4 or 5 courses per semester, and they would meet once a week per course, and it would be for 4 hours for that one day, 2 hours of lecture and 2 hours of exercise, which that was pretty easy to get used to. My undergrad was a little bit different, where like sometimes we met three to four times a week, and things like that, but it was only for like an hour. So that was a little bit different, just like all at once instead of spread out per course. The big difference was the exams. In the U.S., or at least my undergrad, it was a lot of like your overall grade for a course was based on homework assignments, midterms, finals, projects, whatever else the course had, all contributed to some percentage of your final grade. Here, that is very different, at least at SDU, which was a little bit tough for me to get used to. Your entire grade is based on one 15-minute exam at the end of the course.
Okay.
To get into that exam, there's requirements for like exercises and things like that you have to complete. Maybe like attendance as well, but that wasn't really heavily enforced. But you would like do your exercises and then show up to the exam, and that exam could be, there's a few different ways it could be done, where it's either like you have a presentation and then some questions, or you just go in and the entire thing is questions. And there was a little bit of randomness to it, where some professors would actually say you're going to come in and you're going to flip a card over that they had in front of you. So say there was like six parts to the course, and each card related to one of the parts. Flip that over and say you had to present on whichever card you flipped over was the lecture you had to present on. So like you would have to have 6 presentations ready.
Yeah. Okay.
And then his questions would go into depth on that one. And so like your entire grade, it really makes you have to be, either you gamble and hope that you don't get one of the ones that you're not good at, or you study everything. And then there were also other courses where you would go in and you would have a line of questioning that would cover 50 to 75% of the course, but you didn't know. So like in those cases, you would really have to study a lot. And like it being based on that last like 15 minutes, it was one semester course or whatever, made the last like 2 months in terms of up to the exam a little bit stressful, but it's not something that I hate. I think I prefer the way I had it in the US, because I'm very much a project-based learning and enjoyed the hands-on aspect. So in those cases, I could. I've never been a amazing test taker and like heat of the moment kind of stuff. So I could bring myself up by doing well, excelling in the projects, and then getting by on the exams. So like it allowed for some flexibility there. Here it was very much based on how well you did in those exams. So it's like in some cases I don't think the grade I achieved thoroughly shows the what I learned and how well I did, but it's just something I've had to get used to. And if I had I known about this exam process before coming, I think I still would have came to Denmark. So in the end, I don't think it's changed, or it hasn't affected how I would treat it in terms of if I would have come or would not have come. So,
oh yeah, sure.
But that was definitely the biggest change in learning.
Something cool, exams are all easy to pass. And
Okay.
I found out that the difference between Spain and here in the exams can basically explain as the exam in Spain is a competition between you and the teacher.
Okay.
And here it's a path along and through the experience, as with having as a goal to pass. So you go with the teacher to get that goal. He's not competing against you.
Okay.
He's helping you to get there. And that's really cool. I think it's really difficult to fail an exam here.
Okay.
They are all oral, and they are focused on proving that you have understand the topic. Mm-hmm. Because the development process can take less and more, but the important thing is that you know what you're doing and that you will be able to do it in different amount of times.
Yeah.
Theoretical is just a part of the course at the beginning. They give you the tools, they give you the knowledge, the sources, and then they want you to take this into a project. So every single subject you will have a project which will put in practice what you are supposed to know at the end of the course. And that's the coolest part. At some point, you will get kind of overwhelmed because of the amount of projects you have.
Okay.
But you will finish them all. They don't have a huge complexity for you to not being able to finish them all. Mm-hmm. And as I told you, like as soon as you finish your project, you will have all the knowledge to pass the exams, even without studying, because you will know what you're doing and what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, is that here, if you make an effort, you pass. If you understand the things, you pass. In Spain, sometimes even you make the effort, even you do all what you need, you can know all the subjects, you are not granted to pass. If you work, you make it, and you feel that you get the reward you deserve. In Spain, sometimes I think it's 70% work, and there's a 30% of luck always. But here we erase the luck. We don't take into account the luck. We take this part out of the equations, and we ensure that if you work and then you learn, you go through the next step so you can continue learning, and that's super cool.
Regarding the things that you have to learn, I probably know, but you can correct me for sure. I probably heard that here is most of the things are related to coding, programming, and not for engineering and, you know.
For robotics, it's very software heavy, which is, I think, is a lot of the cases around the world, just because that's where a lot of the gap is for robotics, is the software side of things. I'm more mechanical. I chose the program because I knew that the area that I could grow the most was the software side of things. So that's why one of the reasons I chose this program. But what was nice is that the programs here allow you to, if you want to go in the more mechanical side of things, you can certainly pursue it. My thesis is primarily, building an entire robot from the ground up. So like, not working with a platform that's already made, is I made the platform. So like I chose and pursued a more mechanical thesis, with software alongside it as well. But
I think Niko and me come from different backgrounds. He comes from a private university in USA, so I think the focus is way different where I come from. But I have found the uni quite practical in terms of both programming and mechanical stuff. We have different subjects where we have to build our own drone. Two different actually. One was a fixed wing, so it will be more related to the idea that you have of a plane, but in a smaller scale, and a drone, what you also have in mind as a drone. We went through the whole steps from mechanical to electrical control of the drone. So I would say that actually we put quite a lot of hand-on practice. But I think the university doesn't want to go so deep into one specific topic, so they just give you the broad approach of the different tools and the different things it seems that you have to develop before building a product itself. So not only, I will say, in software, I think we do a lot of mechanical and also manufacturing process too.
But do you feel any kind of gap in knowledge that you have to fulfill in your...
like on myself?
Yeah, exactly.
In terms of like what we had to do for courses, I don't think that's the case. I definitely had to do it a lot for my thesis, just because I chose to do something that was a little bit out of the scope of this university. So like I've had to do, like especially on the software side of things, have had to teach myself some more. But a lot of the knowledge that I gained from SDU, I've been able to apply as well in my thesis, which is nice.
Do you feel that there is some kind of lack that you have to compensate with your own studies or own researches or whatever, even before applying to this kind of master, or once you are there?
I think it's masters, so there's a lot of things that you should already have engaged before coming here. They hope you to have already experience in ROS, which is operating systems for robots, a basics of mechanics, like a CAD design and so on. So I think in the masters they cannot stop and wait for you to get like used to every single tool. They allow you to use whatever you need and whatever you want to build the projects you are in class, you're making in class. And they don't expect you to have to explain every single step you need to do to build them. So yes, there's things that you have to do by your own, and there'll be lack of explanations in many topics because they hope for you to come already with those covered by yourself. I mean, I think they know how well their students are prepared, and they hope the international that comes here also have all this knowledge or more. And in my opinion, we come with a bigger expertise and background than the locals.
Let's talk about the background. Do you any kind of suggestion for maybe a young guy that want to approach this kind of new world? What knowledge do they have to acquire in their past for arriving here with solid basis?
Having a good software background is something that is good. SDU uses a lot of like Python. So like that. Thankfully, I was pretty good at Python already before I came here. But most of the courses, especially for robotics, are primarily in Python. The main focus at SDU is robot control and computer vision, and then some AI stuff for both in regards to those two subjects. So that's where the majority of my focus for learning has been. And it, thankfully, or fortunately for me, I had a little bit of background in both back from my undergrad, but it was still a very, not a large gap, but like a gap in my learning that it wasn't like I came here and relearned things. There was some stuff that I went over again, but thankfully a lot of it was pretty new. My undergrad was at WPI in Worcester, and they have a really good robotics program, but it was nice because it was almost like a continuation of that.
Be able to design at least basic structures in CAD.
Okay.
Knowing Python for sure. Having experience in ROS, not big one, but also not wasting your time in learning how to set it up, but to go to more complex things.
Yeah.
Be open on going into electrical stuff, because I think most of robotics engineers, they focus only on programming, ROS, and maybe a little bit of mechanics, but they never think about electronics. And that's something that you will need to do by yourself for sure. And then you will find fun on that. And also it's very important, because he also will want you to do a little bit of electrical stuff. Not huge things, but it will ace your path here. And so things like after the master, I think you can get really a full profile of robotics engineer, or at least have touched the different fields that you wanted, and then being able to choose the one you like the most.
Okay.
But for being able to experience this in the full range that you should, you have to come with a little bit of backgrounds of electronics, Python, ROS, and mechanics.
But this is your experience. Maybe you heard any other friends or colleagues or whatever from other places in the world that have some different issues. I don't know.
I would say having or knowing how to use LaTeX in terms of writing papers, or writing research papers, that's a good thing to have before you come here, because that's primarily what every student here does, is uses LaTeX or Overleaf for writing papers. That's more logistics kind of thing, but a good understanding of where robots and why robots are used. I thankfully I've had a lot of different jobs where I've gotten to see robots in the workplace. I would say in your education, it's a lot more theoretical, and in terms of maybe you pursue aspects of robotics that aren't necessarily used in the real world yet, which is fine and allows you to learn, but understanding what's applicable in the real world, that's something that is a good skill to have, because it allows you to kind of cherry pick what you focus on, especially for my thesis is I'm deciding and choosing things that I know that I can use later in my career, not necessarily something that's super crazy and technical and theoretical that we won't see in the real world for 20 years. So stuff like that, that's a good skill to have before coming here.
In the last year, what I really recommend is during the first year, really take your time to reflect, to think about what you're doing, and then to being able to choose the topic you like for your thesis. Because don't waste the opportunity you have to do your thesis here, because there's companies, there's different teachers, there's different research groups, and they will give you all the tools you need to do whatever idea you have in mind. So don't waste the opportunity, and don't choose your thesis in a rush. Make the most out of it. And also you will have the opportunity to make a project in the company. That's also something you can do. And in the last year you will only have 1 or 2 courses. One of the courses is a build your company product course, which is really cool. I mean, it could be bad planned by the teachers because they change from time to time, but choose the right teacher, choose the right project, talk with them before, and then make the most out of that course, because it could be one of the best courses of your life and one of the worst courses of your life.
And how about the length? I mean, how long does it take for completing this type of project for your thesis, more or less?
For the thesis, depending on what type of thesis you have, you can have the full year, 40 ECTS, or half a year, 30 ECTS. Because in the first term, you can have either a project in a company for 10 ECTS plus 20 ECTS in courses, or you can have 20 ECTS in courses and 10 ECTS of your thesis in advance to start the research. In my opinion, don't go for 40 ECTS thesis. Why? Because at the end, the length of your thesis will be the same, even you take 30 or 40. But taking 30 ECTS will allow you in the first term to have a project inside a company or to have more courses. There are really interesting courses that you can take and also get more knowledge, or try different fields before going outside again.
Okay. Yeah.
But if you take the in-company project, you also step into industry already. So maybe you can get a better chance to have a job afterwards, or just to get more experience. And I think I've seen people that has done really cool projects in companies. And there are a lot of companies here that are open to work with you, and that's important thing I would like to highlight for whoever comes here. Along the year, there's every single semester a project day. When a lot of companies come to the university, you can talk with them, you can arrange internships, you can arrange student works, you can arrange future possibilities of work, and do a lot of networking. Don't miss those days, and do your homework in advance. Know which companies are coming, connect with people in LinkedIn, and be ready to talk with them when they arrive.
Regarding the future, do you see yourself in the future here in this area, working for any kind of robotics companies, or
in terms of engineering?
Exactly. Or coming back to Boston or in any other place in the world?
I've been very open to working in Denmark. Unfortunately, right now it's a little bit the economy for engineering in Odense is not the best. There's a couple companies that just had layoffs, so it's a pretty saturated market for robotics engineers right now in Odense. That's something that's not typical. It's just like this last month, and unfortunately, I'm not in a place where I could say, okay, I'll wait and not get a job. So it's also a little bit different in terms of the U.S. and I've heard it's similar in some other countries in Europe in terms of the job market search, but not in Denmark. So like in the U.S., typically you start searching for your job almost 4 or 5 months, if not more, before you graduate. So like I was looking for my full-time job for when I would graduate back in November, and so I was reaching out to companies in the U.S. and to companies in Denmark. Unfortunately, all the companies in Denmark told me that was too soon, and they wouldn't be able to look that far ahead. So I actually got an offer from a company back in the U.S., and I can't say no. I have to wait until. So I've accepted that offer, and actually I head out in like 3 weeks to go back and work in the U.S. But I still have a lot of connections at UR and with those that Teradyne and Mir, which is they're all owned by Teradyne. With connections with managers, people who've said that once the economy is better, they'd hire me again. So I am very open to coming back.
His decision to head back to the US isn't just a personal choice, it's a symptom of a much larger trend. I've talked about this before. Denmark invests heavily in attracting and educating top-tier global talent, only to see a huge percentage of them leave shortly after graduation. Whether it's recent job cuts in the tech sector or the complex hurdles of staying long-term, the retention gap remains one of the biggest challenges for the Danish economy in 2026. His experience perfectly illustrates why studying here is one thing, but building a permanent career is a completely different story.
If you talk with Danes, especially in the business sphere, they refer to it as a talent retention problem because it's a problem. You have all of these incentives that bring people to Denmark, but very few incentives to keep them.
If from the other side, for the logistic things for coming here in Denmark?
Yeah, the housing stuff for students, the landlords. Every part of Denmark, people are amazing and nice, except for the landlords. The landlords are jerks. When I initially, like I said, I had like a month and a half to figure out where I'm going to live, how I'm going to get there, and stuff like that. So I started applying for different places, and I reached out to SDU, and SDU actually got back to me and was like, here, we have this option that we work with this company to connect them with Erasmus students and stuff like that. They have this option for an apartment. We would say that they made it sound like it was the only option left, blah, blah, blah. Like, you need to accept this or you're not going to have a place to live.
Okay.
So, of course, me going, okay, yeah, I'll take it. I don't got much option. It ended up being, it was like $400 or $500 a month, which is like 4,000 krona, which, depending on where you're from, may not be a lot, but for like living in Denmark as a student, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Especially for like what it was. It was nice because it was near the city center, but it was a 30-minute bike ride from SDU, which like doing that every morning is not fun. Also, they have a loophole in their system where for Erasmus students or people who don't live here, obviously, they have to do the inspection at a certain point from when you sign your move-in date or whatever, or your contract, your lease. So if you're not here, they can still do the inspection without you. And so like they did my inspection for my room without me being here, and obviously did not take pictures and things of stuff that I would have taken pictures of. So I got here, I did take pictures and stuff, but because it wasn't during the inspection, they just assumed that any damage to the room is from me. So like I moved out and I had my move out inspection, and he came in and he was like, yep, the walls need to get repainted, there's scratches on the floor, stuff like that. Stuff that had been there since I moved in. And ended up taking like 3/4 of my security deposit. And I couldn't do anything about it because I wasn't here in the inspection. So like I moved out of that apartment after like last September, November-ish. Actually, no, it was a couple months before that, but almost a year ago now. And when I moved out, went through the whole process where he took a lot of my security deposit and I couldn't do anything about it. Tried to argue with them, and basically they said, sorry, you weren't there for the inspection. There's nothing we can do. And now I'm living in an apartment that's 2,000 krona a month. Half the price is the same accommodations. I got my own bathroom. I do have to share a kitchen with more people, but it's a much bigger kitchen. And it's like a common area. So it's like for student housing, it's amazing because you get to have a nice community with people on your floor. Thankfully, I'm in a situation where I enjoyed the company of the people on my floor. And it's only a 5-minute bike ride from SDU.
Yeah.
That makes it a little bit further from the city center, but you know, I go to the city center on weekends. I go to SDU every day.
Yeah.
So
He's touching on a massive pain point that many international students only discover when it's already too late: the housing market. It's not just about the high prices, it's about navigating a system where, if you don't know the rules, it's incredibly easy to get taken advantage of. I've dedicated an entire video to this. Breakdowns on how to deal with landlords, what to look for in a contract, and how to protect your deposit. If you're planning your move to Odense or any other Danish city, make sure to check that out, because as Niko found out, being prepared is the only one real defense.
Take a bunch of photos of the state of the apartment when you move in. The more photos, the better. 500 is good, 1,000 is better.
Okay.
That's like a set of rules.
Other things about the society, I don't know, you're well integrated here, not just in a university, but also, I don't know, maybe interacting with people. I mean, Danish, and also, for sure, all their expat, there's no problem probably, but with Danish people, do you...
yeah, I would say it's definitely a lot easier. Not that it's not easy to interact with Danish, but it's not just because of all the internationals are typically in the same situation. It's a lot, like I would say 75 to 80% of my friend group is international. And that's just because that's how it worked out. And also the Danes are a little more, it's not that they're like fend offish or don't want to interact with you. It's just that like they've all been in the same school and in the same group since they were kids. So it's like they're not out, like they're not in the mode of like I need to go out and find new friends or find new groups. So like you have to typically approach them. But once you approach Danish people and start talking to them, they're very friendly and very open to conversation and stuff like that. So like all my Danish friends, I think I was initially me initiating the conversation or the contact.
Yeah, just because you and me, basically, we are from different kind of mentality or culture, more southern. So maybe we have a different kind of, I don't know, maybe bias or prejudice or whatever.
I think you will find out that this is way different from you come from. If you come from Spain, Greece, Portugal, and Italy, and that you will have to adapt yourself to the kind of amusement that is here. Yeah, it's cold, it's windy, it's a harsh place to have autumn and winter.
Yeah.
So if you're really into going to a terrace, drinking a beer, or being outside with your friends, just in the park, chilling around, laying in the grass, you will find difficult times here.
Yeah, for sure.
They just substitute this to going to inner cafe, playing some board games, or gathering in a house to have just cozy time. So yeah, it's kind of difficult for you to change the way you have fun here. Also, you realize that the place and the city is not so social from Monday to Thursday.
No,
and then
yeah.
From Friday to Sunday, they just go outside, go kind of wild and drink a lot and then have fun. And that's kind of something that it's a contrast against Southern cultures, where we try to leverage all our fun and social time along the week and not only focus on the weekend.
Danish people don't talk a lot until they've had something to drink.
Okay.
Which that one I found.
So it's true.
I found that one to be true.
Okay.
They become very talkative when they're drinking.
And they drink a lot.
I would say,
and also frequently, or
it's not that, like, I mean, They like definitely like weekends, but like
Okay.
it's they segment it or keep it separate from work and school.
Okay.
Which I think that one's true. But I think Danish, like especially in the winter, there's not much else to do besides go out and have fun with people. So you just drink or whatever. I'd say that's true. They become very social, and because Odense is a student city, it's like typically a little bit younger city. So like going out to a bar or something like that typically has a lot of students. Which is nice. And has a lot of options for. It's not like it's just like one or two bars. Odense has like you go on the street and you'll see 4, 5, 6 bars on the same street. So there's a lot of options for that, which is nice.
They're really into clubs and into society. So if you want to socialize during the week, just join to a sport club, to a hobby club, and so on. And then maybe you're also more prone to have Danish friends. But yeah, I think it will be something difficult to kind of have fun here in the way you used to have it in Spain. So you will have to change your mind, change your chip, your mindset.
Yeah.
That you can have fun here, but in a different way that you used to do it in your own country. But in summer and spring, people go crazy. As soon as there's a little bit of sun, everyone is in the park doing barbecues and drinking a beer wherever they can.
I'd say they're very like my work or my style of working in school and in my career has been I work till it's done the way I want it to be done, and I won't say that like they don't work hard, but it's like it's working between certain hours, and then once it's like once it's not working time or weekend, like there's no they keep totally off. They keep leisure and like non-working hours very separate from working hours. So like you see here at SDU is like you from 8 to 4.
Yep.
You typically can't get one of these rooms. There's people in them studying, doing whatever. At 4 o'clock, they're empty.
Everyone's out.
Yeah. Okay. Typically, I only see non-Danish people in the university after 4. Same thing with work. There's been several cases at the office where like I'm working on something that needs to be done, and because I only work 2 to 3 days a week, it's like if I need to get something done, it needs to be done. So like I stay there late. And there's been cases where I'll be the last one in the office till like 6 or 7 o'clock at night doing something. It's like I'd say they keep their social / relaxing time very separate from working time. It was a funny quote. It was because while I was here, the new Deadpool movie came out, and I think Ryan Reynolds, he goes, "You'll never see a Danish flag on the moon, but man, those people are happy. They love their vacation or whatever." So it was just a funny quote that resounded with me, and it's funny. I've said it to a couple of Danish people, and they're like, "Yeah, that's true." Yeah. I've found that there's similarities across all my professors, no matter where they're from. Okay. But I think that same thing applies. Where like, if I've had to reach out to a professor for help after 3 or 4 o'clock, it's been the international professors that I have a higher chance of getting a hold of. Sure. Otherwise, I have to use the next day kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. What about the interaction with professor? I know that Danish society is a non-hierarchical society for sure, but how about the relationship?
I'd say it's for me it was very different than what I was used to. In the U.S., I called all my professors professor or like professor their last name. It was standard to see them as like they know more, they have control over my grade, stuff like that. Okay. So I hold them to a higher standard and also. Like I don't call them by their first name. I don't drink with them or anything like that. That kind of thing. Come here, that's very different. I'd say in SDU, especially, you go your professors. You typically call them by their first name, which it was funny a couple times because like I would say professor or when I was addressing the professor, either say professor or professor whoever. Yeah. Which is not standard, but something that's ingrained in me and I won't change. But that's just different here. Also, we have there's like galas and parties at SDU, and it's very common to see either the professors playing in the bands or drinking and dancing with the students. That is something that I would not have seen in my undergrad in the U.S. Just something very different. It's cool. I would say the professors here are typically much younger. At least the ones I've had are much younger than what I'm used to. I've had like one older professor and he was definitely older. I think he was like in his 60s or 70s. But besides that, they were like 40s or 30s or 40s, I think, in terms of their age. It was the gap was a little bit different. In the U.S., all my professors, most of them were over the age of 50 or 60. So that's all. It makes it, I think, a little more approachable here. And then I've had this conversation with also Danish students. They're like, they hold professors to maybe not exactly equal level of students, but it's like not far off. I've been in lectures where it's been interesting where I'll have a student actually not challenge what the professor's saying, but like go against what they're teaching, which is something that I typically is not very, you don't see that a lot in the US.
What piece of advice would you suggest to your past version of yourself?
Don't try to make the things easy for you. In my opinion, I made a mistake trying to do my job, my thesis, and my projects inside the same place, which was my company, Universal Robots. They are really cool. They are amazing. They give you all the facilities for you to experiment wherever you want, and huge range of offers to make your thesis and so on. But as you're here, as you're in a different country, just do something in uni, do something in a company, and do something for your own. So basically, this is in the uni, work in a company, and personal project, taking advantage of the different courses project. Because then you will make the most out of the city, and you will kind of experience it more, get more experience. So that's my opinion. Don't focus on having every single thing in the same place, job, projects, and so on, because then you will miss parts of the things.
For me, I think a skill that I've got is always to be open-minded about the type of people you meet. In the past, I've had instances where judged a book by its cover too soon and then missed out on a relationship. I think that's something that I learned through my undergrad and also coming here. Be open to all kinds of people and ways of life. And then just don't be too close-minded. Is something that I think I've learned and gotten good at. And it makes you you learn a lot from other people as well in that sense. If you try and stick with some people that only like you, obviously that you don't. I think you don't learn as much from that. And so for me, it's always like going outside of my comfort zone, being okay with that kind of thing. I think it's a skill that for me, I'm a little more of an introvert. I think so. It's something that has maybe or helped me be a little more extroverted and come out of my shell. And I think it's something I definitely benefited me in the long run in terms of character building and stuff like that. And then it's also a great skill to have in the robotics world for going into your career. So.